Welcome to Conversations Live, where we bring you the best in music, books, entertainment, and more. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 16 years of broadcasting, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience and those tuning in online through our podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. One of the films I've been talking to you guys about quite a lot this year has been one that I had a chance to see called Impossible Monsters. We had some of the cast on the program, the director, even one of the artists that worked with the art project for the film. We're now really excited to welcome Michael MacAllister to our program. He's a composer and songwriter who also worked on this particular movie. We'll talk to him about his own love of music, what it's been like for him to share that with others, to help bring stories to life literally with music, and then, of course, let you guys know how to stay connected with him as well. Michael, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
So, Michael, we're going to talk about Impossible Monsters here in a bit, but I want to talk about how we got here. I mean, because you've been able to work on some other great projects over the years. I mean, when did you first discover your own love and passion for music?
I think when I was in high school, just playing in like a rock band, I sort of realized that if I wasn't going to do science, which was sort of the other thing I was interested in, that was pretty much what I would have to do. Otherwise, I would regret it.
And I think, to have your work recognized over the years has to be a great feeling. I want to talk about, though, the actual composing aspect of it, too. I've been a person who's always loved music, not as musically inclined as others, but I enjoyed being in the band in school and kind of having that. I mean, what has it been like for you to see the way that your gift has not only been recognized, but also helped to bring other people's stories to life?
Yeah, I mean, working on films, and this one in particular, there's like the fact that you're in this huge collaboration is pretty amazing. And I really enjoy, probably more than like any other kind of music product, the idea of putting music to picture, because it's just so rewarding to be able to like kind of like align the gears and make it all work. Using music, and it feels like, even though a lot of what I do, is kind of by myself, writing music like alone, I do feel like this is kind of a way of being part of like something bigger. And
do you feel as though like over the years it's kind of just been a culmination for you, Michael? Because I noticed when I was prepping for this segment, I mean, you've been a part of other things outside of films. I mean, when it comes to commercials, I mean, do you feel as though being a part of film projects was just the next logical step for you?
I mean, I've kind of been doing a lot of different things at the same time, just following a lot of different paths. I would certainly do more films if the opportunity came up. I've done a ton of scoring for advertising and a couple documentaries, which I really, really enjoyed doing. And then sort of on the other side, I've been writing with and producing artists in New York. Just different like singers, other musicians and bands, as well as kind of having my own projects. Yeah.
So you mentioned, of course, what it was like working on this particular project. How did you find out about Impossible Monsters?
Well, many years ago, Nate, the director, found a flyer that I'd put up at NYU, kind of advertising myself as a brand new newbie film composer. I had actually moved to New York, and I was at NYU, and I really, really didn't like it, except for this one film scoring elective that I took. So I actually wound up dropping out of NYU very quickly, but I really, really, like what I learned in that class really stuck with me. And one of the things the teacher in that class said was, put up flyers around the school, put it in like the film school, and people are doing shorts, and they're students, and they're inexperienced just like you, and you can kind of grow together. So I scored Nate's short film then, and we kind of stayed in touch that whole time. And the short film actually was kind of the beginning of Impossible Monsters. So I just kind of grew with the project, and eventually, when it came time to do the actual feature, we already kind of had the game plan put together.
And now here it is for all of us to enjoy. I should say, for those who don't know, even though we're waiting on the actual release of the film Impossible Monsters, the soundtrack is already available through our partners at Amazon.com, as well as, of course, through your favorite streaming site. We'll remind you of that a little bit later. And I think, too, that, as people are listening to it, I mean, and I have had the opportunity to actually watch the film, Michael, it's so interesting to me always when I'm either watching a movie or watching a television show, the marriage that seems to take place, the perfect harmony between what we're seeing and what we're hearing. What is it like for you to see the finished project? Because I'm sure when you're doing it, you're so in it. But what is it like for you to be able to see it and to be able to hear it and to be able to see the whole thing come together?
It's pretty amazing kind of seeing the finished product, not only just because there's, some aspects of the post-production that I sort of didn't experience in real time because the music was already done by that point, like the actual final mix of the film itself. And how that kind of like polished everything up. And so to finally hear that was pretty awesome because they did a great job. And also just to have the perspective of having the time go by between finishing the score and sort of not seeing the film at all. Unlike when you're working on it and you're seeing little bits of the film, sometimes out of order, like all day long, then you finally get to experience what it's like to watch the full thing from, minute one to the end.
Right.
And seeing it like in a theater is of course the best with like a nice sound system and everything.
I know it has to be such an incredible thing, as it must be also for those who are a part of the film and acting in it as well. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, he's on the radio side or online. You're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome Michael MacAllister to our program. He's a composer and songwriter who's a part of the talented ensemble who's now given us a soundtrack for Impossible Monsters, as I mentioned, that's out now. And we'll remind you of that a little bit later. I want to talk about the importance of the arts and the power of the arts, Michael, as someone who has been involved in the visual arts as well as some with music as well. I use my platform quite a bit to be able to encourage people to support the arts. What has that been like for you in your capacity to be able to remind people, if not just in statements, but just by the work that you're doing, about the aspect of the arts that really are so important for all of us?
I mean, I think what sticks out to me, like when you ask that question, is the fact that when you have some people in your life that are very supportive of doing the arts, it really is the first step towards being successful. Because without having the support, whether it be like schools that have programs that really foster that, it kind of leads to the, I think what we see a lot in a lot of areas of this country, like people getting rid of these programs they don't think are valuable. But when you, just from a music perspective, people are consuming so much music on a daily basis in every TV show they watch, the sounds on their phones. There's a composer who created and crafted almost every one of those sounds in every app that they use. I mean, this is like a field full of like really talented like craftspeople,
Right.
And I think that when you start to think of the arts not just as like something that only a very select few people can be successful in, you start to realize that it's actually like a very important industry.
I totally agree. And it's something, especially in the days that we're in now, in the past few months, I think music has definitely been a big part of our lives, and I think it has helped us in so many different ways. So it's great that we have it available.
Yeah.
I think showing appreciation for that is so important. So I want to ask you about, as you mentioned something interesting about Impossible Monsters, and I'm sure it's been true, Michael, for other projects you've worked on, but I want to ask the question anyway. I mean, as you said, and I've heard people, who work on sets talk about, how things can be kind of disconjointed and, they're not filmed in the same order. So actually seeing everything come together is always cool. I want to talk about, though, in another aspect, because, I mean, do you find that the work that you're doing with music, I mean, kind of builds your appreciation overall just for entertainment, because you're able to be a part of other project, this other storytelling that's been done in words, that you're able to be a part of that in music?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, since like working to any kind of scoring music to picture, whether it be just a 30-second commercial or a film, like a full-length film, I've learned so much about the production process on the visual side, just in like the various experiences that I've had, and you realize just how many details and how many things need to fall into place, and how many people really are managing every like detail of that production. I mean, you were saying how you interviewed the artist who worked in this film, and like that's like a huge part of the movie is this artwork that's featured in it. You think about, there's a whole process that had to take place just to get that element right, so that the actors could be in a scene with the artwork. And it really is like, these productions are huge feats of like many people coming together and doing like a fantastic job to make things work.
Totally agree. And a shout out to Gwen AP. I had a great conversation with her about that and what that phone call was like with her and Nathan, and being able to bring her in. And now, of course, like I said, we're able to enjoy the music as well. I hope our audience will head over again to your favorite streaming site. Again, our partner is Amazon.com, but definitely head over to your favorite streaming site and get the soundtrack for yourself. Again, for Impossible Monsters, it is available now. For those joining us via the podcast, we will be posting the link for you guys. The film is coming really soon, so definitely look out for that. And Michael, how can our audience stay connected with you?
Well, probably the best way to reach me is probably just through my website, which is mikemacmusic.com. That's really the best way. I have to say I'm not the greatest with social media, but you can also follow me on Mike Mac and Julie at Instagram, which is me and my wife's shared Instagram account.
Okay. Well, look, I appreciate you taking out a few moments, Michael, to be with us. Really appreciate the time. Congratulations on the soundtrack, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Hey, more than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. Let's make it amazing.